Welcome back to the couch. I'm Dez.
And I'm Jay.
And this is our Justice League review. Coming up next.
With those two bald guys.
Justice League is a 2017 superhero film based on the DC Comics team of the same name. It's the direct sequel to Batman v Superman and the fifth installment in the current DC movie franchise. The film was directed by Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon, from a script by Chris Terrio and Whedon.
It features an ensemble cast including Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller, Jason Momoa, and Ray Fisher. After Superman's death, Batman and Wonder Woman recruit a team of superpowered heroes to save the world from the catastrophic threat of Steppenwolf and his army of parademons. Okay, so we made it all the way to Justice League, Des.
Yeah, long road.
When this movie was coming out, originally there was going to be a Man of Steel 2, and that was going to lead, they were going to do the Marvel MCU model, and then they decided to kind of hijack that model and go backwards.
They went straight to the big team up, the big mashup film, and they were going to do the individual films after. I didn't like that initially, but I'm a core optimist, so I was willing to forgive a lot of that. In my mind at the time, I'm like, they figured out where they screwed up in BVS, and they're gonna make adjustments, and this is gonna be awesome. So going in, I was optimistic. I was pumped. I was ready to see this.
I went into it really excited, really hopeful. That's probably the word. Hopeful.
Yeah, I think we came in at pretty much the same place. This time watching, I noticed that the optics were a little bit all over the place. It was kind of a mixed bag for me. It ranged anywhere from not so great to pretty cool. It's kind of all over the place.
And you can really tell where Zack Snyder's been filming stuff and where Joss Whedon's been filming stuff. There's a different look. I mean, they tried to match them together, but to me, it just stands out every time. Plus, they're very different directors. The colors don't look quite right. It looks cheap and hobbled together. The first thing we're seeing pretty much in the movie is Batman on a rooftop with a crook, and it's so obvious they're on a set and it's not a city. And then you contrast it to, I think it's the very first shots right after the opening credits. Yeah. They're actually in a city and there's like street level stuff going on, whatever it was. But I immediately noticed, now I know we're in an actual city, whereas just a second ago we're on a set. And you shouldn't be able to tell the difference that obviously. The two director thing just,
didn't
it's
work.
obvious.
Didn't help.
I'm not the biggest Zack Snyder fan. You know, I do like his work though. But it kind of made me cringe when it said directed by Zack Snyder, because I'm like, no, this isn't his movie. That's some BS putting his name on there. You need to at least co-direct it with Whedon, because the last act, when we get into that, is obviously all Whedon for various reasons.
Yes.
But
it's almost insulting your intelligence a little bit. It's like, I've seen Zack Snyder films, and this just isn't Zack Snyder. I know it when I see it.
That's a good point. Like Zack Snyder or hate Zack Snyder's stuff, it's not fair to call this his movie, in my opinion.
Agreed.
The first maybe 15 minutes definitely felt like, okay, we're kind of doing Suicide Squad editing.
Totally.
That scatter shot, pacing's wrong. And I think the biggest thing to fix that would have been to take out the scene of Wonder Woman heroically saving those people at
the bank robbery.
Bank robbery, yeah. Not only are the colors don't look right, it stands out more than almost any scene in the movie. It's just overly saturated with brightness, I think, and it's just cheesy. It's just a very cheesy
and
scene.
that scene at the end where she's standing, I think, was it the Statue of Liberty or whatever it was?
It looks terrible.
Yeah, I hated that. That just looks so cheesy to me.
Yeah, and that's really stood out.
It felt like you're trying too hard. You don't really. We've already established that Wonder Woman's awesome. We don't need to. You're trying too hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I get what they were doing. They're trying, because they were establishing each character. You have Bruce going to find Aquaman and things like that. And I get it. They were trying to show you this is what Wonder Woman's been doing since Doomsday. She's been doing heroic things, saving people. But it mucks up the whole intro of the film, and all of a sudden you're in a Wonder Woman movie, and then you're not anymore. And it would have been way better, just don't show Wonder Woman at all until after the Amazon. So we get the scenes at the beginning with the first Mother Box. Yes. Steppenwolf comes down to steal the first Mother Box, and the Amazons are protecting it, so we're back on Themyscira. And it cuts to Diana, I believe, in a museum of some kind. That's where you introduce the character, and I have a feeling that's where the original script introduced the character that way.
So basically, 86, the bank robbery scene.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think that would fix the beginning.
It would go a long way towards helping it, though.
It would help with the pacing issues and stuff, and it wouldn't feel like you're breaking away to a story that ends up, the bank robbery stuff goes nowhere.
Yeah.
So this is the first time I've seen Justice League after seeing Aquaman, and I was amazed at how much more engaged I was with the Aquaman character this time. And so I started thinking, man, if we had a Flash movie, if we had a Cyborg movie first, then you wouldn't need, because these characters are just not very well fleshed out.
Yeah, and speaking of caring for the characters, I have to mention, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up. Cyborg, I did not give a damn about at all.
That's interesting, because I really liked Cyborg.
Yeah, I just didn't care, because basically, to your point, it's like if we'd have gotten a solo movie so I can get attached to him, you know, he was a success, he was a star, he was the man, and then he has this tragic accident, and his dad, we learn in the film that he had lost his wife just recently prior to that and all that stuff.
Right.
So, you know, he was like, I can't lose my family that quick. So he was really trying to hold on. He was willing to do whatever it took to preserve his son's life. I didn't feel any of that emotional attachment in this film because we never explored that story.
If we would have had a Cyborg movie, then I'd be feeling the same way about Cyborg as I am with Aquaman. I guess what I'm saying is I really like Cyborg in that I wish Cyborg would have had his own solo movie like they planned, because that's the problem, is there's not enough time to care about him. Flash I care about a little more, but I think it's because he's funny.
Yeah.
And if he wasn't funny, I wouldn't be as engaged when Flash is on screen.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, they needed to convey that this guy's been through a whole lot, and I just didn't feel any of that.
What about Flash?
So you had mentioned about Flash that you kind of cared a little bit more about Flash than you did for Cyborg, mainly because he's funny. I completely agree with that. He was definitely the comedic relief, lighthearted guy that was easy to relate to and easy to root for. But I think there was a couple of missed opportunities, or at least one big missed opportunity for me with Flash in there. Back in Batman vs. Superman, where he had the flash forward, and he's talking to Bruce, warning him.
She's the key! If I do soon! No! I'm too soon!
There was no mention of that in this film, so it was like, what'd you set all that up for?
I mean, I like Joss Whedon, not as a person, I don't know him personally, but as a director, I've been a fan of his since way back in the day. If his name is attached to something, I still have that innate feeling of, I want to see what it's like.
Curious.
It's Joss Whedon.
Right.
But I honestly think Joss Whedon was a terrible idea for this film. I get why it happened. He had done a successful team-up movie with Avengers and things like that. But I think the only benefit Joss Whedon brought to the film was the humor. A lot of that was probably, with Flash, was probably Joss Whedon. And I think that was a positive thing for that character. So having Whedon write for Flash in this movie would have been cool. I mean, just have him write for Flash and that's it. And let Snyder do the whole movie. That would have been great. But to his defense, I guess, he probably had very little time to throw this all
That's
together.
True. Yeah.
But I still just,
to be fair to him,
they should have picked someone that had a little more Snyder sensibility, compatibility, because it's just so jarring to me. And the Whedon stuff is usually the stuff that I usually roll my eyes on or cringe a little, go, oh, that was terrible. Or whatever. It's usually that stuff.
It kind of reminds me of like that car that you see on the road. Sometimes it'll be like maybe like an old Toyota Tercel or something like that, and it's got like, the majority of the car is like a burgundy color, but then the spoiler's like green, and then the bumper is like white, and it doesn't work. I see what you're trying to do. You found the pieces that fit, but you know, to me, the optics just don't look that great.
That leaves us mainly, I think, with Steppenwolf.
Why don't you come with me, little girl, on a magic carpet ride?
So, what are your thoughts on our villain, Steppenwolf?
Hated it. He's the worst antagonist ever. I mean, the worst antagonist of all time award has got to go to Steppenwolf. This character was just evil for the sake of being evil. He was Zarkon, basically.
From Voltron.
From Voltron.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, I'm a big Voltron nerd.
Yeah.
So everyone's supposed to know that.
The CG on him is terrible too.
Well,
Obviously,
obviously
it was the last minute thing, and that he just doesn't look good. But it's more than that. I could forgive the PlayStation 3 graphics if the character was good. And I don't remember all the details now because it's been a while since I really looked into this stuff, but I do remember for sure the Zack Snyder script. The story he had intended for Steppenwolf was way more vast and complex and deep than what we got. They do mention the name Darkseid. I think Steppenwolf says for Darkseid in one scene.
Yeah, he does.
But other than that, all the Darkseid stuff is basically gone. Steppenwolf is a casualty of the director handoff, and Warner Brothers, I guess, really it's more a product of Warner Brothers getting cold feet and not knowing what they're doing from one moment to the next with this franchise. Well, and I would even bet money on Snyder's version of the film went back and had more callbacks to what happened with Flash coming from the future and BVS and the whole nightmare of what's going to happen in the future in the desert. Darkseid's going to take over the world. I have a feeling there would have been more tie-ins to that story because that was the whole story he was setting up.
Yeah, yeah.
For the whole franchise, basically. That was the core story. I thought doing the future dream and the Superman and how it all happens, that was cool because it was very different from how they were handling Thanos in the MCU. But now I don't know what we're going to do with that, or even if we're going to continue that story at all. We don't know anymore. So I just wanted to touch upon a few scenes that stood out to me. The Bruce Wayne recruiting Barry scene. There's part of that I really, really enjoyed. Once Barry realizes, oh, wow, this is Batman. I love when he comes out of the Speed Force. We're back in real time now. And Bruce kind of thinks maybe I have this guy on the hook maybe. So he starts giving him his sales pitch for being on this team and he gets all serious.
I'm putting together a team. People with special abilities. You see, I believe enemies are coming.
Stop right there. I'm in.
You are?
Yeah, I need friends.
He just
Just
wants
want somebody
friends.
to play with.
Yeah.
That's all.
One of the scenes I really liked, because I thought was a really great character moment between Bruce and Alfred. And we need more of those between this version of Alfred and Bruce, I think.
Right.
But they're on the jet.
Fairy tales and ghost stories.
One misses the days when one's biggest concerns were exploding wind-up penguins.
A simple life.
I don't recognize this world.
I don't have to recognize it. I just have to save it.
Oh, I forgot about that line. That was really cool. Great dialogue there. So what about you? Any scene or anything that stands out to you?
You know, I really like the Green Lantern Easter eggs that they showed. You get a quick glimpse of the Green Lanterns there. I thought that was really cool. That was a dope scene.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that in the theater and I was like, yes, that's awesome.
Especially that little moment where Steppenwolf kills one of the lanterns and the ring floats off and it just shows Steppenwolf looking at it like what is that? And then it floats off.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's cool.
Yeah, that was a cool scene. I really liked that.
So we mentioned pretty much every character except for the Big Fish.
Oh, we forgot Superman, didn't we?
we forgot about that guy.
We did. Okay, well, that's kind of odd, but let's talk about Superman. They're obviously trying to lighten up Superman and make him more Christopher Reeve, that kind of Superman.
Yeah.
I think they take it too far.
Yeah.
Even in the suit itself, I hate it. I do not like the look of the suit. I don't like that shiny muscle stuff. It's terrible.
You know what?
It's awful.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's multiplied with the color palette. I mean, they lightened it up a little too much. It just looked a little too hokey to me. I didn't care for it.
One scene I'm thinking about with Superman that really bugged me is when he shows up to save the day and fight Steppenwolf at the end.
Yes, yeah.
It's way too cheesy. He comes in and he's I'm Christopher Reeve, which is... The intent is fine, but it's over the top. It doesn't work. When he punches him, he's actually smiling.
Yeah.
It's way too bubblegum. And I
totally agree.
I hate it.
I hate it too. But there's one part about that scene that I did like. One tiny little nugget. It's not big enough to consider it any kind of a saving grace. I thought the score in this film was not very good at all. I didn't care for the score. But in that particular scene, when you see like Superman disappears for a good 30 minutes prior to that, and then all of a sudden he shows up to save the day, and it's like, well, I don't know why you need everybody else. Superman could have took this guy out by himself, so I don't know why you need a team. But whatever. He shows up and you get that the original Superman theme.
The Williams
theme.
score.
Yeah, that tiny little nugget was kind of cool to me.
Yeah.
I was like, it was real subtle, it was real small. If you weren't paying attention, it's easily missable. But it was like, there's the little dun 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 dun. I was like, yeah, I like that.
I believe in truth, but I'm also a big fan of justice.
Danny Elfman scored this film, and this was another last-minute change when Whedon came in. And I believe Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL, one of the two or both, were planned to originally score this film. And I kind of wish they did, because Elfman's a perfectly talented guy, but the only moments I really liked the score is when, like you said, he brought in the Williams score for a moment, and there were two moments, I believe, where he brought in his own Batman '89 score from the Burton film. But beyond that, I thought the music was just very blah, and it just... I
thought it
wish.
sucked. It just flat out
Yeah,
sucked.
I just didn't think it was very good. It was probably better than the Suicide Squad score, but that's about it. But with Superman's character, it's more than just the suit and the too bright and all that. It's also just, I don't know if people know about the whole mustache gate thing. I mean, it's hard not to notice.
Yeah, it's terrible,
But
right?
if you didn't know why Cavill looks so like off-putting, like he looks strange. He actually does look strange in some scenes, and if you don't know why, it's because they CG'd his mustache off that he was under contract to have for a Mission Impossible movie that he was filming. So they opted to CG out the mustache so you can see above his lip, and half the scenes he's in, his mouth looks funny, and it just takes you right out of the movie every
Yeah,
time.
I mean, like, my understanding is that Cavill is probably not going to reprise the role of Superman anymore when he's not, like, under contract with Warner Brothers anymore. So if this is his last take as Superman, then I'm kind of bummed.
Yeah,
I don't want him to go out with that whole mustache thing.
it's just strange looking, especially when he smiles. It's like, oh, don't smile, don't do
Yeah,
that.
I know, right? And what did you think about Cavill's portrayal of Superman in general, not necessarily just this film, just overall?
Well, he's fantastic in all versions, I think. He has range. So it shows that if they can just balance the darker side of his personality with the more traditional lighter side, if they could just marry those two together in the right balance, he'd be perfect. 'Cause he's
I
a good
think he's your
actor.
guy, yeah.
Yeah.
He's Superman.
Yeah. And so you kind of have your own mustache gate, I think, going on right now, too. What are we both? I don't know what's happening there. Mustache gate. It's spreading. Watch out.
You don't like my new look?
I don't know. It's weird looking. Don't smile. I remember going into this movie being excited, and the very first thing we see is this phone footage with these kids, and it's poorly acted, even on Cavill's part. It's the kids are just it's just bad. I don't like any of it, and my heart just sank into my stomach when I was watching the movie the first time, because I went, oh no, this is going to be bad.
Yeah.
And thankfully it didn't end up being a bad movie, but it wasn't good either. And well, certainly I think everyone can agree it's not what it was supposed to be. Hey, so I thought we'd take a quick break and talk about our featured friends.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Featured friends are other content creators we enjoy and support.
And we think you'll dig them too.
All right, so let's check out our featured friend.
Imbued with the power of the Odin Force, ready to drop the Mjolnir on unsuspecting mortals. Make way for the mighty All-Father himself. Are you ready for
Odin's Movie Blog, an entertaining, straightforward channel that brings you box office breakdowns, movie reviews, pop culture commentary, live chats, and group movie nights. So go visit Odin, the critic who's a cynic, and don't forget to tell him those two bald guys sent you.
And we're back!
There's quite a few really cool little character moments here and there throughout the film, I thought. We get moments with Cyborg and Flash, which are really cool, which show glimpses of what it would be like if they did a team-up movie.
Yeah, the accidents. Do one of these?
Yeah, when he goes...
Why we gotta stop him?
That's the plan.
That's the plan. Okay, we're not ready for...
You got struck by lightning, huh?
Yeah, that's the abridged version. And you...
Explosion. Woke up in the lab.
So we're the accidents.
Yeah, it's us.
Hey, no.
There's little moments like that that I thought were really well done, and made me want to see both those characters more. I guess it's a good time, since we're talking about Flash and character moments, probably my favorite scene in the entire film. And it is a Whedon scene, I'm pretty sure, ironically. But it's when Flash goes to try to help stop Superman, because he's been awakened from his sleep.
Yeah.
And he's a little nuts right now. And so he's attacking what we have of the Justice League, and Flash finally realizes, okay, I better step in. So he kind of strategically tries to go around Superman with the speed that he's got, and then realizes, holy crap, this guy can actually see me. I got chills this time during that scene. I loved it.
It's just like a Jurassic Park, where it's like, sit still and he can't see me, and then all of a sudden you realize this T-Rex could totally see me. He just blinked and he's following me. You know, I can't make a wrong move here or I'm gone.
Yeah, he figured no one's been able to see how fast I'm ever holy crap.
This is the first. Oh my God.
Yeah,
this
what
dude
am I
can
going to
see
do?
me.
Yeah, and then on top of that, imagine being Flash right now.
Mm-hmm.
You have to dodge those punches. If you get hit, your whole skull is probably going to get crushed in by one punch. You're dead.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah, you have nothing. You cannot do anything but dodge or maybe run away. But he can't fight Superman back. So yeah, it really hit me this time. Like, wow, that's scary.
And you know what? Ezra Miller did a really good job when his facial expressions when he
Yeah.
realized that he could see him. That look on his face.
The acting between both of Miller and Cavill during that scene, like I said, it gave me chills. It's a
pretty
great,
good.
great scene. Another one of my favorite scenes, and ironically, I think it is another Joss Whedon scene, is the whole sequence where you find out after Aquaman's been given this kind of dialogue, he's talking about everybody very matter-of-factly, and everybody starts to slowly realize he's sitting on Wonder Woman's lasso.
But we gotta shut Steppenwolf down. Superman's a no-show. You got no powers, no offense. This guy might be working for the enemy, we don't know. You're tripping over your feet and mine. Oof. You're gorgeous and fierce and strong and I know we went to war with the Amazons, but that was before my time. Hey, you know what? I don't want to die. I just feel like I never really embraced the sea or the land.
I couldn't help but laugh, and this is, not the first time I've seen this movie, and I laughed just as much this time as before.
Yeah.
So there are moments of lightness in this film that do work.
I love that scene too. It feels like once you understand the lasso's powers, it feels like that's the obvious joke. So when I saw it in Justice League, it was more like about time for me.
Oh, okay.
But I still liked it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I disliked that scene. I get why it's one of your faves because it's also one of my faves too. It just felt like, well, what took you so long?
I just really like Momoa in that scene.
No,
I
he was
think
great.
He's
I
good.
agree. Mhm.
He's good in it.
This film is a lot different from what we may have anticipated initially.
So we know from Cavill and we know from Snyder's social media posts and things, among others, that the black suit was coming to Justice League. So knowing Snyder and his affinity and attention to detail of the comics, I don't think it's that far-fetched to think we were also going to get long-hair, bearded Superman for a portion. And, of course, we skip all of that, and his resurrection just happens really fast. It feels very much like a sped-up version of what was supposed to happen. We definitely got a dumbed-down version of what Snyder was planning to give us. And that could have been good or bad, but seeing what we got, I think it only could have been better. So I don't know if you feel that way.
I 100% agree with everything you just said.
All right, then I guess we'll leave it at that. So you've mentioned quite a bit how the optics and the visuals and the effects on this film just aren't up to par. It's ugly. The CG looks like, and I'm sure it was, tacked on at the very last minute. It's obviously a low-budget affair because we're just in this one little town in the middle of Russia, I believe it was. I just think the whole last act is atrocious. It's bad.
It's really bad. Mainly, my biggest problem is, like you said, the CG with it. It just looks like a video game to me.
Yeah, a bad one. I actually like a lot of this film, and most of it falls apart on me when we get to the last act. I'm able to forgive and gloss over a lot of the things that are not so good, and then this last act, it's really tough.
Honestly, I don't particularly like a whole lot of the film. I think maybe 10-15% is cool, but when I say I like, I mean it's just okay. It's passable. I'm not necessarily in love with it. But by the time we get to the third act, I agree with everything you're saying about it just kind of completely falls apart for you. But for me, by the time we get to the third act, I'm kind of already, I've already made up my mind, this sucks.
Strangely enough, I think I enjoyed it more this time than in the past.
Yeah, it's weird because I was completely opposite because for me, the newness of it and the excitement for seeing DC characters on the same screen at the same time in the same place in the same world, all that newness of it was worn off by the time I rewatched it. So it was just easier for me to kind of like pick things off.
The middle section, I think most of it's really good, actually. It's the first part.
Probably the best part of the film.
And you think it's at least the best part of the
Yeah.
film? Okay, so yeah, the first act is too choppy, and it takes a while once it gets rolling. When they first confront Steppenwolf, and he's got Cyborg's dad hostage.
That's under Gotham Harbor, isn't it?
Once it gets there, I'm invested by that time. So something before that happens starts to get me into the movie, and I was able to just pick out a lot of good this time. And I thought, this isn't as bad, but maybe I'm being too forgiving. I don't know. I don't know if I have much more to add about the film, but I would like to mention the post-credit scenes. We go into the prison. where we think we're finding Lex. And first, I have to say, I hate the whole opening part. The guy, when he turns around, the cackling and the laughter, it feels very Schumacher, Batman and Robin. It just...
Yeah, his head didn't even match. You
Right,
can totally tell that's not him.
Yeah, when he turns around and does that laugh, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I watching? It's just, it's so bad. I don't understand how that take made it into the cut. But after that's over and we skip to Deathstroke on the boat going to Lex's yacht,
Yeah.
that's excellent stuff. One of my favorite parts in the entire film, and it's not in the film again, but we're getting Eisenberg a glimpse of what he could be as a proper Lex. So we've got him in a really nice suit. He looks like Lex finally. His posturing, the way he's sitting, very arrogant and stuff. He's got all that down very well. The way he talks, he's gotten rid of all those nervous tics that I couldn't stand. So we're actually getting a quick glimpse of Lex. I cannot wait to see. Hopefully we get it for real, but how they're setting up the Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want Legion of Doom versus Justice League. Let's do it. But I'm willing to wait a decade or whatever it takes to properly earn that.
Do it right.
All right. I think we're ready to sum up
Yeah.
then.
Justice League failed to deliver in quite a major way. To me, I compare it to like a paper tiger. I mean, it looks potentially fierce at first, but on closer look, you realize it's just cheap origami. The antagonist in this film was probably the worst antagonist ever created in all films, even though I haven't seen every film that's ever been made. I'm going to go ahead and give it that distinction. It was pretty bad. The antagonist was horrible. The tone of this film is very incongruent with the previous films that we've already seen in this DCEU. It's a really fun film if you're like 6 years old or younger. There's not a whole lot of saving graces in this film for me besides the fact that it's based on DC characters and I'm a DC guy, but that's not really saying anything about the movie itself. If I had to sum up this film with 2 words, it would be missed opportunity. So for that reason, I'm going to give Justice League 2 out of 5 shiny bald heads.
I enjoyed Justice League quite a bit, even though Des just called me a 6-year-old for liking it. But I can't really say a ton of good things more than what I've already mentioned in the review. There are moments here and there that I really, really liked, especially character moments, since I love these characters so much. And there's some really cool action set pieces and things like that. But overall, as a whole, the film just does not come together very well. And the 2 directors and all the different visions from the studio and different people are just readily on display here. But I do enjoy it, so it's a tough call for me, but I'm going to go ahead and give Justice League 2.5 out of 5 shiny bald heads. That was our Justice League review. We really hope you enjoyed it, and that concludes our DC movie reviews for now.
Yeah, so be sure to join us for our next review, right here on this couch.
Last time on the couch, we reviewed Wonder Woman, so if you missed it, now's a great time to check it out. If you enjoy what we're doing, please hit that like button and subscribe to receive alerts when new videos are posted. Don't forget to click the bell icon. Thanks, we really appreciate you.